Just a heads up before this video gets started, I wanted to correct myself from my last video, before anyone does it for me. In the last video, I said 46's dad was named Bill, but this is not true. Bill was actually patient 71's father, Vanessa's. Just something I caught while refreshing on the research for this video. I still believe Elizabeth is 46, but I can't really use that as evidence anymore. Anyway, on with the video. Once again, I'm talking about security breach. This is probably going to be my final theory video until the DLC, Ruin, comes out, assuming that comes out sometime soon. So we better make it a good one. In my first video, I made 3 theories. 46 is the one who made Burn Trap and can make more of them, the princess is Vanessa, and Ruin will bring us back to Fredbear's and Golden Freddy. In my second video, I theorized that Glamrock Freddy is possessed by the spirit of Charlotte, aka the puppet, and that Patient 46 is most likely some form of Elizabeth Afton having come back from the dead, with Mrs. Afton being the one manipulating everything behind the scenes. This time around, I want to tackle another 3 parts of security breach that I think I have some ideas about: the sticky note room, the daycare room, and Vanny's true identity. These are pretty much the remaining 3 that I have any ideas about, which I mean, pulling 7 theories out of this 8-hour game, if you ask me, that's impressive. I don't know if it's impressive on my end for coming up with them, or impressive on Steel Wool's end for making a game this incomprehensible, but someone out there did something neat. So let's get started with the sticky note room. The sticky note room is what fans have dubbed the Staffbot Silo's bottom section. Accessible after clearing the Chica boss fight, it's a room filled with sticky notes, Staffbot heads, and a dinner table set up that has the Afton family presumably. I say presumably since we don't know if this is for sure what it is, but it has a Staffbot resembling Elizabeth, a headless Staffbot which could be Evan, and 3 other Staffbots that could feasibly be the remaining members of the Afton family. By the way, I do want to mention this nanny bot here, as it supports one of my previous theories, that being that Mrs. Afton is the one behind everything. Before this game, we had never had any sprite or mention of her, but now she's sitting at this table, and she's not just sitting at it, she's at the head of the table, perhaps signifying she was the matriarch of the family. I think that might be the true purpose of the table, to get us to wonder who Nanny is and why she's at the head of the table. But anyway, back to the sticky notes. These sticky notes are everywhere around the room, and looking at what they read can be rewarding. I'm going to show the textures on screen so you can pause the video and look at them if you want, but I'm going to essentially be looking at some of the most important ones to figure out who wrote these notes in the first place, and what happened to them. The first one that stood out to me was this drawing here of a man with a cap on and a flashlight. I say a man, but realistically this could be someone of any age. But this imagery here reminded me of something. It reminded me of the drawings in the survival logbook. These drawings by Michael Afton depicted himself in a similar way, minus the flashlight. However, I don't think this is Michael drawing himself. I think it's a drawing of a security guard, and one specifically with a flashlight. So looking back through the games, there are a couple security guards who use flashlights, specifically Jeremy Fitzgerald and Fritz Smith in FNAF 2, and Michael Afton in Sister Location and Pizzeria Simulator. Moving on, another one that stuck out to me was party time. This is a phrase that is seen on a poster of Bonnie in FNAF 1, but also appears on a poster of Toy Freddy in FNAF 2. Party time itself, I think, has more significance in FNAF 2 than in 1, since Let's Party appears on Toy Chica's bib, and several posters of Toy Chica and Toy Freddy say Let's Party or just Party in some way. Then there are a couple of drawings that I found extremely interesting. The first one is of this face on its own, and then another where the face is surrounded by other happy faces. These faces most resemble the puppet, at least to me. I would have said the Staffbots, but these faces have a distinct smiling mouth, something the Staffbots lack. And repeatedly, there's mentions of friends, my friends. There's imagery of presents and the phrase all for me. Someone is remembering their birthday, probably at a Freddy's location. There's a drawing of a girl by herself, the mention of family, whoever this person is, they're likely a child. There's a drawing of a piece of cake with the word share under it, so probably a very pleasant friend as well. And over you see drawings of bears, repeating phrases like fun, 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 or happy place. But then I thought, what does all this imagery have in common? And why is it related to the puppet? Well, I think this is where Glamrock Freddy may have been put after becoming possessed by Charlotte. The person who wrote these notes was Charlotte. She's remembering her birthday, her friends, the box, even the night guard with a flashlight. She's remembering posters and pizza, and people, and something else beginning with P probably. She repeatedly writes the word home because to her, it was home. Her father was the owner of the restaurant, and when she died, it became her permanent home, until now. People previously have looked at this as a robot coming to consciousness, but if anything, I think it's the opposite. I think people have been seeing these notes that go from coherent speech to binary language in the wrong order. This isn't a robot coming to life, it's a robot losing its life, becoming suppressed by its programming. This is where Charlotte lost her memories and became the Glamrock Freddy we know at the beginning of Security Breach. I understand that this is a huge revelation and requires that my Glamrock Freddy theory to be true, but even if I'm wrong here, I at least want people to start looking at these post-it notes not as someone coming to life, but as someone losing the memories they have. And either way, I'm fairly confident through these drawings that we are looking at Charlotte here. Looking again, it could also be Baby. There is a mention of ice cream, which is something Baby is pretty heavily associated with, but with the multiple appearances of the puppet mask, I feel like it has to be Charlotte. Plus, we know through Henry that Charlotte was an uplifting person in life. I feel that more describes the person we see through these sticky notes than Baby. It's complicated, but that's just my first theory. The next thing I want to cover is the daycare room, as this is another place people are just totally stumped on. If anything, it reminds me of the Ratman hideout from Portal 2. For those who don't know, there was a hidden area in Portal 2 that showed someone had survived the initial neurotoxin killings GLaDOS had used to kill everyone in the facility. This character, Doug Ratman, never appears in-game, but getting close to a wall you could actually hear his insane ramblings somewhere far away, due to the fact that he had ran out of the medication he was taking. So approaching this like it was some kind of FNAF Ratman room, I got digging. First off, what do we know about this room? Well, it's hidden behind a poster in the theater and is unlocked after photographing cardboard cutouts that match every character on it. These characters are found literally everywhere in the Pizzaplex, so it's a pretty hefty task just getting it. And once I got in, what I found was almost disturbing. It was a disheveled area filled with scrapped parts from staff bots and animatronics alike. This also seems to be where the daycare attendant is located when it jumps off the balcony into the ball pit. Behind a curtain was a hole in the wall that led to a crawl space with a pretty pointless arcade cabinet, and a bag with a note talking about a significantly more important arcade cabinet. There were plush toys, computer parts, a lot of chairs, a playhouse, and hanging clothes and pajamas. The most important part of this room, however, at least to me, came in the form of this little drawing on the wall, a picture of someone standing next to a cake. This was drawn on the person's birthday, and for whatever reason, they came here. Although I don't know if the staff bots and animatronics were already here or not, one important thing to remember is that Gregory never makes a comment in here. And here's the thing, at this point I was convinced this is where Gregory lived. We don't know anything about Gregory's parents, if he has parents, but when he leaves the Pizzaplex he falls asleep in a cardboard box, implying he's homeless. So I thought that this made perfect sense to be the spot. But then I thought, wait, there's something he says during the story that directly contradicts this. When you first go through the endo storage, Gregory reacts in disgust, commenting, "This is what you look like on the inside?" referencing Glamrock Freddy. However, Gregory is alone in this moment. This is a moment of genuine confusion and even a little fear. But if that hideaway is where he lives, he would have already known what these things look like on the inside. So no, I don't think it's Gregory's hideaway, but one thing's for sure, it's definitely a kid's. The plushes look like they're being played with. The clothes that are hung up on the wall are Gregory's size. It's another kid living up here. In fact, there's a somewhat similar spot in Kid's Cove. Not exactly the same, but similar. I don't think Gregory has been living here. I think it might be 46. I could be wrong, but look at what Gregory wears. He's not wearing any of the Fazbear merch clothes, even though that's pretty much exclusively what is hanging in the daycare hideout. Although we can't really tell what 46 would be wearing, I wouldn't be surprised if when they get revealed they're wearing a Freddy t-shirt or something. I don't mean to be sexist or anything, but looking around the room, it just feels like a girl's room. The table is bright pink. There's lots of chairs, a pan for baking muffins. It makes me feel like this is where a little girl is living in the Pizzaplex. But why? I have a feeling that this is going to be, at the least, a part of the main story of Ruin. Our third theory for today revolves around Vanny. This was one that when SB came out seemed like an open and shut case. Vanessa is Vanny, most likely as an alternate personality brought on by Glitchtrap, and to an extent this proved the test of time. However, there's always been a nagging hangnail to this whole thing, and that's the rooftop ending, or the fire escape ending. In this ending, Freddy lights the building on fire, confronts Vanny now that he can see her, and both him and Vanny die. However, in the post-credit scene, we see that Vanessa is still on top of the building, looking down. It's unclear what this ending meant, but for me, it just meant that the ending wasn't canon. It was ridiculous enough that most people would catch on that you're not supposed to take it seriously, like the garage ending, where Glamrock Mr. Hippo is a thing, and Gregory knows how to drive a van. By the way, this rooftop ending is the hidden ending of the game that requires you to collect every golden plush, which is unusual because pretty much all the other endings are locked behind something a bit more substantial. The Afton ending requires you to beat Afton. The Vanny Redeemed ending requires you to beat Princess Quest. This one, go grab some plush toys made with yellow fabric. Anyway, because of this ending, as well as some other things that happen in-game that don't necessarily make sense if Vanny and Vanessa are the same person, outside of video game logic, I decided I was going to try to resolve this mystery and prove that they were either different or the same person. So let's look at all the evidence and then examine the fire escape ending. I'm going to be using evidence from AR and Security Breach, since AR was the introduction of Vanessa. Allow me, if you will, to paraphrase some of the emails that you can get while playing FNAF AR. These are emails from Lewis to Vanessa, and most of them do the same thing. Warn Vanessa that a search of hers has been flagged for review from him. In one email, Lewis expresses concern over Vanessa searching for the phrase, how to induce compliance in human subjects. In the next, it's the phrase, how far can a human being be cut in half before losing consciousness? Next was 3 lifelike male rubber human masks. Do you know what these 3 all have in common? It's not what you might think. It's that they were all searched by Vanessa, or at least from Vanessa's computer. Unless anytime Vanessa goes to the bathroom, Vanny quickly pops on to look up something heinous, I think this is pretty solid evidence that they're the same person. But you might need some more proof. Maybe it really is a case wherein someone else is using Vanessa's computer. So let's move on to proof that's actually within Security Breach. You remember the Patient 46 tapes? Well, don't worry, we're not talking about them, we're talking about Patient 71, Vanessa. After looking through Vanessa's tapes with her therapists, I came to a pretty sound conclusion. There is something in Vanessa's head. Listen to this line. I can't talk about this, he said he would always be watching. He could be here or there or anywhere in between. This he would of course be Afton, probably as Glitchtrap. Considering Vanessa knows she can't say anything without Glitchtrap finding out, this confirms that Vanessa at least knows about him, and if we believe her, she merged minds with him. Consider this as well. Her online history shows her buying fake fur. For what? She responds with it being a secret. It goes further. I mentioned before that I don't think Vanessa is actually aware of the encrypted messages between Vanny and 46, despite them coming from her computer. So if Vanessa is buying fake fur and talking in an encrypted conversation with 46 but doesn't know about it, then the only solution would be that Vanny and Vanessa are both there, maybe even at the same time. I believe that Vanny is Vanessa as a sort of split personality, taking parts of Vanessa's personality and parts of Afton's that surfaces at times. In fact, I think it surfaces during these logs. I compared CD 7140, a log where Vanessa and her therapist discuss the custody battle between Vanessa's parents, to CD 7141. This is the CD where the therapist reveals the encrypted conversations, which Vanessa doesn't seem to understand, thinking the therapist means she's talking about when she talks to her friends. But more surprisingly, is that when the therapist reveals 46 has been hacking into Vanessa's computer and pulling all of her personal data, Vanessa, instead of being shocked, switches into a sort of self-hatred mode. She says the line, "Lots of people know more than I do. Sometimes I need to listen." I think in this moment, it's not Vanessa saying this line, but Vanny, trying to get Vanessa to shut up. There's a couple times in these tapes where just before it sounds like Vanessa is going to say something important, she's shut down and says something irrelevant. Again, I encourage you to listen through these tapes. You can find them online. But this is all it sounds like, or it must be. What solid proof do I have that Vanny and Vanessa are the same person? Well, how about the fact that the game itself considers them the same person? I mentioned before in my Who is Vanny video, but every animatronic in the game's code has two separate modes, these being their default and their shattered versions. Oddly enough, this also applies to Vanessa, who although isn't an animatronic, does have a shattered Vanessa model. And guess who it is? It's Vanny. And if we go further into some scrapped content, we can see the infamous Vanny meter. When this filled up, Vanessa would despawn and in her place would be Vanny, until the bar depleted and Vanessa would come back. How about the fact that Vanny can walk through any security door, almost as if she were chief of security herself? Sure, Gregory can do that too, but only through finding these security cards, and we never find an open head like these implying that someone else had already been there. In the Vanny redeemed ending, Vanny throws her mask down and disappears, and Vanessa greets Gregory at the door, helping him out, despite just a few moments ago asking him to come to the main stage. As I said in my Vanny video, I think this is another case of Vanny using Vanessa's voice to lure Gregory somewhere. But let's talk about those voices. It's true that Vanny and Vanessa have two separate voice actresses, Marta Svetek and Heather Masters respectively. Now, is this important? In my eyes, no, since we never hear Vanny speak without her mask on, which we already know distorts her voice. I think the reason for the two separate VAs is because players aren't supposed to go into Security Breach knowing that they're the same person. They're trying to preserve some kind of mystery. But then, what does that fire escape exit mean? I mean, it's one of the harder endings to get because you not only need the golden plushes, but at least 60 items. There has to be some kind of significance here. And then I thought, there is, in the first half of the ending. This is the part of the ending that reveals Vanny at the very least looks exactly like Vanessa. But then, what does Vanessa on the roof mean? Is this really Vanessa? Is it her ghost? Well, I'm inclined to believe that what this ending means is that Vanessa was left behind. And she was left behind because we didn't beat the Princess Quest games. When Vanny fell, when she left, Vanessa wasn't with her. Vanessa will remain trapped. But that's if we treat this ending as canon. The way I see it, there are only two endings of Security Breach that may actually be canon, the Afton ending and the Vanny redeemed ending. The former is the only ending that's fully 3D animated, while the rest are comic books, maybe implying that they're fictional stories being told after the events of the game. They're not real. The other is the Vanny redeemed ending, because this is the ending that nets you 3 stars, the highest amount you can get in the game. Sort of a game complete thing, although the Afton ending only gets you 2. In either way, this fire escape ending doesn't seem to be canon, especially since the only requirement to get it is the item number and the plushes, not something actually linked to progression like Princess Quest or Facing Afton. To me, I think this ending was so difficult to get because this is the ending that was meant to say, see, they are the same person. And then at the very end poke fun by making Vanessa still be there. It's hard to explain, but basically I believe that the purpose of this ending was not to show that they're two different people, but to confirm that they are the same person, and then also tease players who just had that aha moment. That was a really convoluted way of saying, damn you steel wool. So basically, I think that it might be literally physically impossible for Vanny and Vanessa to not be the same person, because Vanessa is confirmed to have glitch trap in her head, was confirmed to be the one buying the fur for the costume, and was confirmed to at the very least look exactly like Vanny. If she's not Vanny, I swear I'll probably just make another stupid video. Anyway, those are my 3 theories this time around. This video definitely ran on a bit long, but it was very fun to make. And I'm especially confident in my sticky note and daycare room theories. Vanny, I suppose I could go either way on, but I just feel like there's too much evidence for Vanny and Vanessa being the same person for it to not be the case. Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Be sure to subscribe and share this video around. Almost 96% of my viewers are not subscribed. It's absolutely free and you can opt out whenever you want. So please subscribe. That's all out of me. Peace.